Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of June 26. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll move this along. I'm sure a lot of you'd like to see the concerts tonight. Town's buzzing around. It's always a wonderful time of year. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council. The first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Okay.
Motion to...
There's a motion to pull HH 14. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. So now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the submission of minutes of June 5th, 2019, item A1.
Motion to approve previous minutes?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is an advertised public hearing. This considers the petition of Vaci Avedisian for Vaci Avedisian LLC, doing business as Classic Pizza and Grill, 349 Metacom Avenue. Request council consideration for Class BV limited liquor license.
Mr. Solicitor, well, I'm sorry, Mr.
Or
Clerk.
just to say, you have recommendations provided by the town administrator and the director of community development.
Mr. Solicitor, if you could give us a little guidance on this. I understand that there was part of the recommendations had to do with a zoning requirement, not specific to this applicant, but that area that he's in, which is limited business.
Yes, a special use permit is required for alcoholic beverage service. Together, the food is allowed as a right, but a restaurant with alcoholic beverage service requires a special use permit. So it was our recommendation, along with past practice, that the applicant should go to the zoning board. The applicant for the specific license in mind should go to the zoning board and obtain it there, and the zoning board has the power to grant zoning relief conditionally. They would then, if they see fit, they would grant a special use permit conditioned upon eventually receiving the license. And then that way, on liquor licenses, the town council gets the last word.
Thank you.
So I think probably continuance would be in order.
Should they open the public hearing and then continue?
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion
Wait,
to... Okay.
I'm sorry, that last part was that we should open the public hearing.
Oh.
So you're suggesting that we should go through the standard process and then at the end make a determination?
No, I'm suggesting you should open the public hearing and then immediately entertain a motion to continue it.
Okay, so I'm going to officially open the public hearing.
Move we continue.
We have a motion to
Is it the next
continue.
meeting?
Well, I don't think so
Or what,
because of the
two?
time with the zoning. When is the second meeting in September?
Diane, when is the next appropriate meeting for zoning that we should continue this to?
That will be their September meeting, which is the first Monday. So I think if you have a later September meeting, I want to say it's the 18th or something like that.
So it should
September
be
18th is
September
our
18th.
single September meeting. The next meeting is October 9th.
So would they have their zoning board meeting by then?
Yes, they should have had it prior to then.
Okay,
The
so-
zoning board is scheduled to meet on Monday the 9th. Because of Labor Day, it's moved out a
Oh,
week.
right, that's right.
But it would
Holiday.
still be a full week before the 18th.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Motion
move
to
that we continue to the 18th, September 18th, sorry.
Second?
Well, if
No?
Well, I'm
You
just
can't
thinking
advertise it.
if their meeting wouldn't have occurred when our agenda is finished.
Do you want to do the meeting in October then, Lou? Is that what
I
you're
mean, I
thinking?
guess there would always be the possibility to just extend it one
Yes,
month.
yeah, it could
You
be
could just
continued.
continue again, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. I think we should have it on the September 18th meeting, and if it's not ready to be heard at that point, at least it's ready to go. So
And we're familiar with it. We know it's coming down the pike.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we had a motion and a second to continue it to September 18th. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is another advertised public hearing. This considers the petition of Christian Ferreira, doing business as Christians, 382 Thames Street, requests council consideration for transfer of existing Class BV liquor license to Ryan Roberge and Leah Roberge of Roberge Enterprises, same DBA and location.
So this, as the clerk said, is an advertised public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? You can come right up to the podium if you would. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Leah Roberge, and I'm in favor. We're planning to keep Christians exactly the same that Christian already has done with it. It's a great place, and I think that's pretty much why I'm in favor.
So this is a public hearing. We're not allowed to speak positively or negatively at the moment, but okay. I'm a big fan of a 30-second commercial, so please share what would you like to share with everyone who's watching right now?
I guess I'm in favor for keeping a great restaurant in the community, and for being able to serve delicious food and some great cocktails or wine pairings and so forth, and just bringing the community in and together and supporting it however we can.
That was an excellent 30-second commercial. Nice job.
Good.
Anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I think I'm good.
Is there any questions from this council?
I just have a question.
Sure.
And just because you're in here a couple of different times on the agenda for different, transferring all different things over.
Yes.
It seemed to be a little discrepancy. You do say in here that the closing time will be the same, but then there was some reference to 1 a.m. You're not going to close at 1, are you?
Correct. Nope, we're going to keep everything the same.
So what time do you currently close?
9 during the week and 10 on the weekends.
And then the music, on that license, you said it would just be acoustical music, similar to what they have now.
Exactly what they have now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's not going to be a... So, Andy, that can just go on our, approval, right?
I think
Whatever
you
time
should
he's got on there.
specifically, as part of your motion, to restate those conditions.
Right.
And as far as that, that the music be unamplified, I think is the key language, as opposed to calling it acoustic, that it's be unamplified.
Okay, so do we know exactly what time is on their records that they're allowed to close? Is it 9 and 10, or is it 10 all the time, or?
For your licenses, it's 1. Yeah, he is a full service, so
Pardon me?
till 1. Till 1 currently, I believe. On the music or on the...
No, I don't believe they have 1 o'clock down there at all, do they?
Well, we close normally. They say restaurants by 11:30.
May I ask you to please? Thank you.
Enjoyed the part.
And if you could state your name for the record. Christian?
Christian Ferreira, our current owner of Christians. Currently, last time we were here, you said 11:30 was the closing time that you asked all restaurants in town to be closed by. We normally close by 9 or 10 on the weekends, and we stick by those, and that's what we've been doing since then.
So your official thing is 11:30. That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
we're usually we're done by 11:30. We're a restaurant. We're not a bar. People don't stay late, and if so, they're out by 11:30 as it is. So we haven't really run into any issues
No,
other than
I know you haven't. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Please. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, my name is Scott Sogard, and I'm familiar with the new operators. I think they'll be great, and from what I understand, they're going to keep the restaurant the same. And I think continuity is great for the town of Bristol. And restaurants, independent restaurants that are operated like this, are an asset to these to all these towns. I've been in the restaurant business myself. I don't even want to say over 40 years, but all I can do is say these are real operators. I think everyone will be very happy with the way they operate the premise and whatever is on the bylaws with regards to their operating. From what I understand, they want exactly the same, no changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman.
For discussion, I guess. I should have stopped.
Yes.
Typically, we don't get there on that one, but
Right.
please.
I see that there's some communication here dated July 5th. I would like to know if this has been cleared. Have we received any other communication in regards to this?
I think what we could do, unless you have objection to it, is we can close the public hearing, and certainly, because I know that
Can't
is
get the
a
license
question on
until-
all of
Get the
ours.
license, okay.
Yes,
You can't get it anyway.
unless you have
so
objection to
The
that.
transfer can't
Not
go
at
through,
all.
I don't think,
Okay.
so it's
Good.
paid.
As I know the council is aware, that we always make that conditional upon the satisfaction of all debts. So there is one objection based upon an accounts receivable, which is normal in these cases, and we will not release the license to the new owner until we get satisfaction from that company. And I'm sure they're in the process of resolving it.
So I think we certainly will get resolution to that question. So we had a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that was one of that was the only objector, as far as I know, that was listed on here.
Right.
Kristen, you raised your hand. If you could just come up and if you don't mind responding to that, because it seemed that you wanted to. Thank you.
Just so you're all aware, I spoke to the company today. Everything's been resolved, and they put in a memo to retract that from the ordinance, or from the petition. So it's all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV liquor license on the conditions that we get proof that the Horizon Beverage outstanding issue that was currently owed is satisfied.
And I would add, if you don't mind, like that we make sure that unamplified music, we don't do that right now, though, right? That's not going to be this
Well,
week.
there's a
another
dancing
one.
and-
that-
there's a
right,
dancing and
I'll hold off on
entertainment
that.
license.
But that the hours, they close no later. I mean, and should we go with 11:30 because that's what's on their current?
It's up to you, whether you want to go with 11:30. They've said 9 and 10. That's up to you. You can go with 9 and 10, and they can always come back later if they want to go later.
Right.
But if you say nothing, it's 1 a.m.
No,
So
Gosh,
you
we're not
should
gonna
say
say
something.
nothing.
No.
So, okay.
I would go with 10. I want to be fair to them because if it's, the other owner had 11:30, but they close at 10, I mean, I'd rather it close at 10.
It's
So,
up to you.
What's this council's thoughts?
My thoughts are to keep it the way it is 11:30, and then take it from there. I mean, they're new. They're coming in. They're going to want to try things. And I think if we give them the option and the chance to see if they want to, their clientele want to move things around, I think we should give them the option. And then if they do want to go to one, they can come back to us. But other than that, I'd like to go with 11:30.
How about if we find maybe there's a middle point, which would be, it would seem like the later would be on the weekends, probably typically, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
well, I think that their point is that even though they have this, because restaurants have it, most of them are closing earlier because there's no business, like to speak of, to keep a staff. So that's why they're closing at 9 and 10. So I would hope that they would continue with that, and that would be my hope of what their plans are, and just not hamper them if on his license officially says 11:30. Is that what you're assessed, Christian? 11:30?
Yeah.
Well, suppose that they may want to have a private event or something like that goes till 11.
Well, that's...
Would the early closing time then would preclude them from doing that?
Well, if that's what they have 11:30, they just post their hours. They can do whatever they want after that if they're up to 11:30. Is that what you have on your license?
My license currently has no time that I'm allowed to close, but when I was at the last meeting, it said 11:30 for restaurants was the time that you preferred us to close.
We don't put it on the face of the license. It's in the record.
Oh, okay. All
Okay,
right.
and I'm not sure exactly what those times are, but if you want to make it per the
Yeah, why don't we do that per whatever is currently
whatever
on
was
Christians?
currently on
Right.
on the record, that might be the
I
resolve.
think that would be the easiest
It would
way to
make
do
it
it.
identical to the conditions of the current licensee.
Right. That's what I was trying to accomplish, yeah. That's what I would suggest.
So what was just said is mirror what is currently happening, so it would continue unabated. So 11:30 is the proposed.
Well,
but
no, whatever it says.
I
we don't
agree
know
with.
it.
I was going to clarify that.
Sorry.
Is that say no? It's okay. That whatever it is currently will continue, because you found that it worked, and the new owner seems to be extremely happy with those timelines. So it seems everybody's happy with that. Most everybody's happy with that. I don't want to say everybody. That's probably too much to wish for. But I think we're okay. Mary, does that?
Yeah, I think that's I think the best way to solve it because we don't have it right in front of us.
Okay. So we had, well, I'm sorry, before I wrap up, is there any other discussion? Okay, so what I heard is that we'll continue as it is stated on your current license, which sounds like it's 11:30, but whatever it is, that's what we will continue on, okay?
Okay.
Any other discussion? So we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Excuse me? Excellent. Congratulations. Yeah.
Okay. The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the public hearing regarding Ordinance 2019-07. This is an amendment to the zoning code to allow a large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic facility in former or existing landfills. This is the second reading for adoption and an advertised public hearing. You have a recommendation provided by the Planning Board.
So again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? We are non-committal about solar here tonight. Is there anyone here to speak against? Is there anyone here to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. What's this council's pleasure?
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No,
All
I
in
think that's great. We're moving forward. We are promoting sustainable, renewable energy, and I just think it's fantastic. So I'm glad we're taking the next step.
A job well done.
Well put. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item B4, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council. This is your fourth and final public hearing of the evening. This considers the Harbor Management Plan and Ordinance, the 5-year update, and you have from the Director of Community Development several edits to the draft plan.
Diane, would you like to speak to those high-level edits?
I
Sorry.
would.
Both?
So the council has in front of you the edits to the draft plan based on comments that I received from the town administrator prior to the public hearing. I think the most substantive edit is the parking chart. If you recall at the last meeting, you had several ordinances that were adopted, and the plan needed to be in line with those ordinance changes. So we've done that, and I actually thought a chart was a sort of just a better way to kind of present that information to you. We also did specify that the mooring fields, the Bristol Harbor and the Kickamuit River mooring fields, both, or all, there's two in Kickamuit, have caps. And the policy statement has been revised to reference the continuation of the cap. Those fields are both capped per ordinance. And then pages 40 and 41 were corrected to reflect that there are actually 2 full-time employees, and the action item regarding that has actually been revised as well. So those are the edits.
Could you take a moment? I had some discussion with a few residents over the last couple of days in regards to the parking. Could you take a moment just to clarify that? Because there was a perception that there was less parking than there was, and maybe you or Greg,
I
because
might defer that to Greg.
Absolutely.
He's been working on some signage, too, to help.
You lucky guy, Greg, go ahead. So,
That's all I talk about is parking anymore.
on the land, too. Isn't that weird, being the harbor master?
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Go ahead. Please, could you just take the 2 seconds?
So the municipal lot that was across from Robin Rugg, that's permanently the Prudence Island Ferry lot leases to the parking spots. The municipal lot across the street from the ferry lot, that's open for free daily parking. Big signs up there. Overnight parking, if someone so chooses to park there, is $10 a night. Sign reflects that. You come to see the harbor master's office, and we put a little tag on their car in the morning. We write the plates down every night. We check them in the morning. On the Prudence Island Ferry lot, it's free daily parking to anybody. The only overnight parking on that lot is a marina permit parking sticker issued by my office. So we had 34 spaces over on Russell's lot that we were renting from Robin Rugg, and we have 52 spots on the Prudence Island Ferry lot. So plus whatever's open at the other lot.
Sure.
So we're ahead of the game on public parking.
I wanted that shared just because I know that there were some questions. It's fair. So it was great to have some clarity there.
We're working on some more signage, so it's bigger and brighter, but not, impressive.
So how many additional spots did we get out of this?
Right now,
it's 15.
15.
We gained 15 on Prudence, on the Prudence dock.
A net.
And again, the purpose why that move was made in order to build the marina expansion, CRMC is going to require us to own the parking spaces. We own the Prudence Island dock. We rent the other two. We rent them from a private owner for public parking. So we switched in order to get approved for the marina expansion. We had to prove that we own those parking spaces. So we made that move.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
if anybody's got any questions on it, they can call the office. Everybody's versed on it.
I'm not sure. There was some discussion this week about parking. I'm not sure if the public knows. We purchased that parking lot on State Street across from Bristol House of Pizza within this past year. It was almost $380,000 for that. So we've been investing into our parking the best we can to help our downtown area. The wave signing fines went out this week with the parking symbols, and we're really trying to do whatever we can to help the downtown area. And I think that message is being lost, but we are investing into the downtown.
Thank you. So before and please make your point, Tony. This is the public hearing, so.
Just very quickly, to the point that the administrator made, it was interesting to see the signs up at the corner of Church Street there, right off Hope. So it provides an indicator for folks that are looking for space. Hey, there is additional parking. You just have to get off the main road and go towards the parking lots that are available. So I concur with you. Haven't worked through some of that previously.
And also for public knowledge, I believe we're spending $54,000 a year on rental lots. And if we can buy them, we'll buy them. We're approaching the owners, but they're not willing to sell. So it's not as if we're not. My point is we're investing in parking downtown.
It's a good point.
Best we can.
Thank you. So again, this is the public hearing. I'd asked for that clarity in the beginning because there were some changes that were made that Diane and Greg have pointed out, along with the administrator. So this is a public hearing. So is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone? Are you here to speak in favor?
I'm going to speak
in
favor.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to speak in favor. I obviously worked closely with Greg, the Harbor Master, and the Harbor Commission and the Advisory Committee to get this plan presented for you, and it was a lot of hard work. It was a long time with back and forth with the Commission. I think it's a good plan, and I think it reflects the blueprint for the management of the harbor. So I would speak in favor of supporting.
I have to concur with you. Reviewing the plan, definitely a lot. You can tell that quite a bit of effort and work went into it, very thoughtful and very planned out. So it's a wonderful blueprint for the harbor. Thank you to all of the folks, the stakeholders.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Diane? No? Okay. We wanted to give you a second shot. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. What's this council's pleasure?
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for the immense amount of hard work that went into this, and I know the Harbor Commission and the Advisory Commission. And if I'm skipping anybody, I absolutely apologize, along with, of course, all here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council. The next item is item C3. This is ordinance 2019-08. This would be an amendment to the Town Code to allow for an additional BV limited intoxicating beverage license.
So this follows suit with our first agenda item, which should be then continued, and please disagree with me, Mr. Solicitor? No. Okay. So this should be continued to the September 18th meeting.
Motion to continue to the September 18th meeting.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the petition. This is item D3. This is the petition of Leah Roberge doing business as Christians, 382 Thames Street. Request council consideration for a vittling license. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, water pollution control department, and interim chief of police.
Based on all the positive recommendations, I make a motion to approve the vittling license.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Should this have the same requirements? Because this is where it says the 1 o'clock on it. Should that have the same restrictions?
So maybe the motion should coincide with the
Yeah, I
first
think
one,
it should,
saying that
yes.
it follows suit?
I just hope that there's no, I don't believe there's anything for 1 o'clock down in that area. I just hope there's not what we're going to find out 1 o'clock. I hope not.
So I'll make a motion to amend. I'll amend my motion to approve the vittling license to coincide with the timing that's on record.
And
Is that okay?
could you note as voluntarily agreed to by the applicant?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is from the same petitioner requesting council consideration for dancing and entertainment license. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator and fire chief.
Based on the... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I was just want to say, that's where my unamplified, is that correct, Danny?
Yes.
So, but you can go ahead. I just want to make sure that gets in there.
You can
'cause
make
I
the
don't.
motion.
I know, but I don't like making those motions. So.
Okay.
I try not to make those motions.
Tim, back to you.
Yeah. I'm going to amplify my motion. I'll making a motion to approve the dancing and entertainment license based on the positive recommendations.
Second.
Well, unamplified music is what our suggestion that the solicitor had.
They have to adhere to the noise ordinance, unamplified
Yeah.
music, yeah.
No, it's two separate things. They have to adhere to the noise
ordinance.
but that it is also conditioned on the entertainment being unamplified as they voluntarily have agreed to.
Right, because
So
you said
moved.
it was good, right. That word as opposed to acoustical is what you're saying.
Yes.
They all come in with acoustical, right.
Acoustic has a different meaning to different people.
So moved, Mr.
Unamplified is pretty clear,
Right.
I think.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this is the part where we can actually say congratulations. Good for you. We wish you a lot of
Everything
luck.
else is private property. You don't need our permission for the outside, but.
Yes, really. Good luck.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item D5, and this is the petition of Diane Medeiros on behalf of Elder Care 150 Franklin Street. Request council consideration for a bingo license for September 18th and December 4th. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Based on the positive recommendations, I make a motion to approve the bingo licenses for September 18th and December 4th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is item D6. This is the petition of Erin Metcalf for the Newport Music Festival. Request one-day dancing and entertainment license for event to be held at Blythewold on July 17th, 18th, 23rd, and 24th, 2019. You have the recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Interim Chief of Police, and also the Fire Chief.
Make a motion to approve the one-day dancing and entertainment license.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And actually, I probably should have said this beforehand, but this is July 17th, 18th, 23rd, and 24th. It's on the application as stated. But it is, I don't know if anybody knows this or not. I'm going to look into this, but it's classical music from 11 to 1 in the afternoon. And if that's something that interests you should go on, and they didn't ask me to do this, but go on the Blythewold website and take a look at it. I mean, that's a departure. So it sounds interesting and fun.
Well, I think it's nice that they're bringing, I think they did it last year too, the Newport Music Festival is that time frame that they're bringing over an event here in Bristol. So that's
I think it's wonderful.
very good.
You can take the ferry, right?
That's right, the ferry.
Thank you.
Good option.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council. The next item is item E1. This is the annual renewal for the existing dancing and entertainment licenses. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Based on all the recommendations, I move to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Similarly, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, we have the hawkers and peddlers license renewals for the same time frame, and you have recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and Interim Chief of Police.
Motion to approve the hawkers and peddlers license.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And finally, E3, the public laundry license renewals for the same time frame. You have recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and the Department of Water Pollution Control.
Based on the recommendations, I move to approve.
Second.
I'm only okay if it's acoustic laundry. Besides that, I'm just not going to say okay. So you have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This gets a little heavy. It's okay to have a smile here and there. So.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item F1. This considers the petition of Joyce Farmasano, 35 Catherine Street, request for accessible parking space. This was continued from your June 5th meeting. You have a recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and Interim Chief of Police.
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you to the chief for trying to mediate the situation here. I was reading through it, and I'm glad that he came to a positive conclusion, and they were willing to allow the parking off street, not on the street, and where we would be blocking off another spot for everyone to be allowed to park. So, thank you very much for all the efforts, Chief.
Thank you.
Definitely in their interest to have given her the spot in the lot. So all their tenants and friends that come over, whatever. Very good. Thank you for doing that.
So, Mr. Clerk, it's because it was, in essence, withdrawn. Is this a receive and file at this point, or is it a denial? Help me out. Or Mr. Solicitor.
Had a first reading, so should it be denied?
I think it should probably be denied, just so it puts some finality to it.
Okay.
And is there a place that we would note this resolution so that
I'll
if
put
anybody
it in the minutes.
If anybody comes back, I know that. But I mean,
exactly.
just, anywhere else, like.
There's no prejudice that applies to denial of a parking space request. So if someone comes back in a year or two from now, it doesn't make any difference that you denied this one. They can still come back and ask again.
Go ahead. I was just going to make a motion to deny the second reading for adoption based on the fact that we were able to come, the landlord and the tenant and chief were able to come to agreement to supply that person with an off-street parking.
That's good. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item F2. This is the petition of Louis Fraterelli, Jr., the co-chairman of the Harbor Festival Committee, requesting permission to serve and sell alcoholic beverages at Rockwell Park for the 6th annual Harbor Festival event, which will be held on August 10th, 2019. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Is Lewis here? Greg, you will be speaking for Lewis?
I'm
the part of Greg? Sorry, the part of Lewis.
I'm speaking for Lewis.
Thank you.
He forgot it was his wife's birthday tonight. So
That's very important.
Yeah, I said that
Not
was
to forget.
More
So,
important that
good.
go to that dinner. Same as we've done in the past. We're going to hope for not having the rain this year. We're going to start with the Blessing Fleet at 1:30. We're going to do the home stuffing competition again. We're going to have some live music, and we'll have the oyster bars coming down again, doing oysters, shucked oysters, and so just same stuff, same fun. One compact day.
So, Greg, I understand this is Saturday, August 10th. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And if one wanted to buy tickets for it, how would they do it?
So,
Lewis. Lewis is going to be disappointed.
Lewis is going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
You can go to the BristolHarborFest.com. Make sure it's the U.S. one, not the one in Bristol, England. And you can buy tickets, because we had people buy tickets from England last year online.
Is that right?
Oh, really?
Is that right?
Yeah, they were very upset. They have a
think
very
so.
big harbor festival over there. If you're bored one day, check it out.
On August 10th?
Hey, maybe they'll
No,
fly
it's
us
not on
over.
August 10th. It's not on August 10th, but
We can go check it out.
people just typed in Bristol Harbor Fest, and they got the England one, and vice versa. We had some of that problems here in the past as well, buying tickets to the England one. Or you can come down to Maritime Center. We have them for sale down there as well.
Excellent.
Can I ask you a question about the stuffy contest? Are you going to just have the home cooks, or are you also going to go back to the restaurants?
Well, just the home cooks. The
restaurants don't want to do
Nah,
it?
the restaurants weren't too into it. I know they tried up the Mosaico last year as well. And
That was good. They had a lot of people at the Mosaico.
We're going to approach some of the restaurants that have won in the past, see if they can make some, because people enjoy them. So we'll be looking for judges if anybody wants to judge.
Outstanding.
That's my favorite thing. I mean, that's
Mary,
like
she wants to be a judge.
that's one of my favorite things.
Mary's been a legacy judge.
Yeah, like about 2 years, two or three times. Yeah.
What's this council's pleasure?
I just have one
make a
question.
motion.
Greg, could you just let everybody know where the money's going?
Oh,
That's going to be raised?
Oh, yeah,
So-
that's right.
this year's money we're raising, the town administrator had brought me this idea about a year ago. It's a trash collection system that you put into the water. So a lot of the waterfront communities around us, Newport, Providence, Portsmouth, they have this trash collector you put in the water, and it sifts through pulls out the debris and plastic bags, straws, all that stuff out. So we're going to work in partnership with the agency that has been doing those throughout the state, and try to put some money towards that, and then for the rest of it, we'll apply for a
Outstanding.
grant.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So that's Steve brought us that one this year, so that's what we're going to go with.
Awesome. Good.
It's always a good, successful event. I mean, it seems like sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate, but it's always a nice event.
And we
It
made
is,
it work
it
last
is.
year, so.
Yeah.
And then it got bright and sunny when it was time to clean up, so that was good.
What's this council's pleasure?
Make a motion that we approve the
Liquor license.
the
Sixth
liquor
annual
license,
Bristol
yes.
Harbor Festival?
Yes, the sixth annual. Yes,
That's it,
that's very
yeah.
important to highlight. You know, it's the sixth one, so that's wonderful that we've been able to sustain it. But anyway, that's my motion.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
This isn't the same weekend as the Black Ships, is it, Chris? Yes, Oh, it is. Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Be a lot going on then.
Write that down. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck, Lewis.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is item F3. This considers the petition of Pamela Lenahan on behalf of the Papa Squash Associates, request council consideration to allow that a guardhouse would be placed on town property. There was a late item recommendation provided by the Planning Department, specifically the zoning officer, Ed Tanner.
So, Mr. Administrator or Diane, did you want to speak on this? I know that, just for clarity end of things, the applicant or the petitioner was looking to move the guard shack forward to help with people pulling in, not supposed to go there, having to do a 7-point turn to turn around. But on reflection of what the application was, and certainly the intention sounds very positive, but it would then preclude the public from going down a public road. So if you could please, Mr. Administrator, share some more on this.
Sure. The petition, as you stated, there were concerns about vehicles passing the guard shack and then turning around in private driveways. There were a couple of new homes there with children, so they had asked for a guard shack be placed prior to the stone pillars, which would have required a license to maintain. Our concern is that if any vehicles are stopped, that is still a public road there. So our suggestion, and I did speak to somebody from the board recently, our suggestion would be to build a turnout or a
hammer, whatever they call that. So hammerhead, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a hammerhead style turnout. So that the license would be for them to build that hammer style turnout, so that vehicles, when they stop at the gate, they'll be able to turn around and exit.
What's nice about that is that the public continues to stay public. It doesn't. It addresses the issue that they're having, or at least it seems that way. And there's no issues there. But it would seem to me that I would like just to refer this to the administrator and whoever you deem appropriate, authorize what's being requested here, but I don't think it needs to come back to us for specifics, whether it's size and scope and all of that stuff. But tell me what my colleagues think. I'm not sure.
I concur, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure that the administrator, along with Director of Public Works and whoever else needs to work, they will be able to engineer and be something that's agreeable to the residents as well as to the town to keep the right-of-way.
Yeah, I agree with, it was funny, when I read this request, it seemed to make sense because of the turnaround and the young kids that they talked about, the new houses.
Yeah.
But I had the same thought in my mind, like there's still going to be public road there. So, but are they asking for the turnaround to be on that piece of town property, so they would actually have a turnaround beforehand, or they'd back up to that? How would you see that happen?
The turnaround would be just prior to the gate where the shack is. Sure. So the gate has two stone pillars. Anything past that is known to be private. So it would be just before that. So they would have to stop. They'd be stopped, and they'll be able to turn back.
Okay,
and exit.
So it's not where they're proposing.
Please.
We're proposing to put the other shack.
Dr. Enright? Oh.
Was there someone here that wanted to? I'm so sorry. Was there someone here that wanted to speak on this? You're more than welcome. Please, welcome.
Sorry, we got sidetracked.
This is.
Is it?
No.
I think Jonathan Enright. I think I see him here.
Good evening.
Diane, I was actually quite jealous that you moved to Papa Squash just because.
I'm sorry, Dr. Enright.
I'm coming to your house for the 4th. Just to be clear. So.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Town Council, Bristol Town Government. My name is Jonathan Enright. I live at 412 Papa Squash Road. I'm here as a representative of the Papa Squash Associates Board, as we are so called to kind of just maintain the road, etc. Our original proposal is for safety reasons. Basically, currently, there are now houses where people used to turn around. Our newest resident, or one of our newest residents, Danny Ferreira, has 2 young children. You should all congratulate him on the birth of his second daughter.
Welcome.
And we just don't want cars turning around in his driveway. Also, that turn, given it used to be a single-lane cart path, basically, is pretty narrow. So we just wanted to improve visibility and signage so that cars didn't end up parallel to the road with someone coming around a blind curve as well. So I think we're very open to working with the town administrator and the planner and public works, etc., to improve the safety scenario that we have there. And that's our main goal. We're not trying to deny anyone access to public land or anything. We're just trying to make sure nothing bad happens.
Perfect.
I was sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if I just had a question. I was just curious about the overall need for that guardhouse. What is somebody there 24/7, and with the technology today, is there still a need? I've gone by there, and there's a lot of times nobody's in there.
Currently, we only feel the need to staff the facility on weekends.
It's only weekends,
from
okay.
Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's basically to cut down on road traffic, car traffic for most of our residents that are there walking the roads and such. You get a lot of people that come out of Colt State Park and just want to visit. We kind of just want to limit the number of cars that are unfamiliar with the area, coming around single lane turns, kind of cruising around, looking around. We just basically want to maintain a safe roadway for the residents that live there. And there's been some internal discussion on the whole relevancy of it. We'll kind of leave that internal, I think, in our end. But it's something that's been there at least as long as I've been alive. So it's 31 years.
Same with me. I've always just known that guardhouse to be there when I've gone over there, but I've never seen anybody in there. And I was just curious if there was any real need for it.
A retired gentleman who was there for 25 years. Lou and his wife used to patrol it. Now Lou has since passed, so we're trying to figure out our way here. I think the goal for the petition in the evening is just to increase signage and visibility, so we don't have people coming around a blind curve with kids and etc. That's all we're looking for. So I think we'll resign to work with the town administrator and the public works program and kind of go from there. If that's agreeable, I think that makes the most sense.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Do you have anything else to add? It's your driveway. So.
So I'd like to just talk a little bit about what I.
Could you tell us? Could you state your name?
Yeah, my name is Daniel Ferreira.
Thank you.
I'm the first residence on the right that's been newly built.
Welcome.
In the area, so I'm pretty much the driveway that everyone's turning around in. So the guards that are there on the weekend kind of try to have them turn around right in front of the house. A couple times they've almost hit the stone wall. A lot of the times they just like John said, they're doing like a 7-point turn just to turn around, so they're blocking other cars, and it gets very cumbersome. There have been times when my daughter, who's 2.5 years old, doesn't listen very well. She's running around in the driveway, sometimes behind the stone wall. People can't really see it. They pull right in front of they pull right into the driveway. My wife's not paying attention. They're going to one day hopefully never hit her, but the thought has come to my mind. There's been a couple of times when my heart drops and I'm like, stop, stop, don't go anywhere. But we've got a 2-month-old who's constantly in need of attention and crying sometimes. My wife can't always be paying attention, so that's something that it has been a concern of mine. And they're turning away sometimes on the weekend. I've noticed 15 to 20 cars. So 15 to 20 cars an hour can be sometimes a bit of a challenge to see them turning around on the driveway or just trying to do a 7-point turn in front of the house. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. What's this council's pleasure?
Make a motion.
I think we had a motion.
Did we refer to the town?
Do I have that motion already?
Hang on one second, just to remind the council that licenses to maintain, which is what is recommended, if that's the route that's going to take it, will have to come back to you for approval. So perhaps the best solution at this point would be to refer to the town administrator to put together the plan.
Perfect.
And then once the plan is set, the license to maintain, the applicant can come back and ask for that license.
Perfect. That's my motion.
Yeah.
I heard that motion.
Yeah.
And I have a second
I'll
on
second
that.
that,
Excellent.
yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
All right, great.
No, that's good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is item F4, and this is the petition of Gaetano Amalato and others requesting council consideration to extend an existing no parking area on Franklin Street, on the west side of Franklin Street, next to the elder care parking lot. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, interim chief of police, and director of public works.
Based on all the positive recommendations, I make a motion to approve extend the existing no parking area on Franklin Street, west side of the elder care parking lot exit.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to be the skunk at the garden party again.
Sorry.
This will
Feels that way, sir.
require an ordinance. So if you would refer it to the town solicitor so that an ordinance may be drafted
So moved.
To take care of this problem.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lou, do you have any problem with that one? No? Okay, great. No, just having fun. So there's a motion. No, not at all. There's a motion and a second to refer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And a similar application from Joseph Cortellessa, 208 Hope Street, who is requesting a no parking area on Summer Street east of the driveway for 208 Hope Street. You have recommendations provided by the town administrator, interim chief of police, and director of public works.
So the same would apply here if this council felt it appropriate,
Yes.
correct? Okay. What's this council's pleasure?
So make a motion to refer this to the town solicitor to draft an ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
If it exceeds the 15 feet, you
Yeah.
do.
Okay, yeah, because I recall at our last meeting, we did something along
From the curb.
Mount Hope Avenue and Wood Street.
15 feet is okay, because that's within the confines of what's we already have rules on that.
Okay.
But if it goes beyond that, then it requires an ordinance. That's what we've been advised. That makes it enforceable.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to refer to the solicitor. Is there any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the return petition of Susan Rancourt of 3 Mayo Drive, Warren, for Rhode Island races in partnership with the Bristol 4th of July Committee, providing an amended petition for allowing announcements and music per past practice at the 5th annual half marathon race to be held on June 29th. You have a recommendation provided by the town administrator and interim chief of police.
So this was on our agenda for our last meeting, and this council denied the petition. And I know Susan is here to speak on this, but I'm not a fan of a second bite of the apple, but I don't believe that's exactly what happened here at all. I believe that the information that was shared with us wasn't enough for us to make an informed decision. And what I mean by that, and Susan, please feel free to clarify here, but it's my understanding that it was our understanding that we were approving new and additional things that would add noise that we didn't believe was happening. And, well, actually, that's simply put. And, in fact, this is what has happened for the last 4 years. And out of an abundance of caution from a new liaison in the police department, again, that's not a finger point, that's actually a good thing, that it was suggested that you come in front of us to get approvals for things that you were already doing. Do I have that right?
You have that correct.
Okay.
So first, I'd like to apologize for not being here that time. My youngest graduated that week, so I could not be in two places at once. And honestly, I thought it was just a rubber stamp because it was something that we have been doing in past practice. So yes, Mr. Clare, you spoke that correctly. We are not changing anything that we've done in the past. In fact, after speaking with listening to the concern of the council from the last meeting, we actually directed our race announcers to turn everything down after the race goes off. We won't have anything once we get everybody off. We sing the Star Spangled Banner, everybody goes out, and then as they start coming back in around 7:30, 8 o'clock, that's when we have music and things to encourage them as they come back to the finish line.
Okay.
But we're not changing anything other than actually bringing the noise down in the morning now.
So it'll be less invasive than it has been, even though it wasn't invasive to begin with?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think that, it was interesting because I'm not sure that when we agreed to it, I mean, I don't know that any of us thought that there was going to be music and stuff that early in the morning, And so I think when we saw this, I think it was kind of, wow, it's really early to be having music. And
I think we all said that, too. Yes.
Right, and I think that some of the neighbors have said that as well, and I see in the police report that, or the police recommendation, that the officer asked multiple times to turn the music down. So, I mean, I do think it is intrusive at that early in the morning. And then I think we saw something somewhere, an email or something that said it's unusual not to have at least an announcement to kick off the race. But I mean, I don't think there should be very loud anything at that early in the morning on a weekend. I mean, I'm going to vote no, just because I don't, I'm not sure I knew that there was all this stuff going on as in addition to the, at the start of the race. But I am concerned about it, and as I said at the last meeting, I think sometimes people, when and just because I happen to live in a neighborhood such as this, when you're around businesses and, in my case, schools and churches and other things, people forget that there are residents that live there.
Right.
And in your cases of, the whole big park and so forth, that I think you have to be respectful of the people that are there. And it's not just the racers, because they're probably going to go either way, but it really needs to be as quiet as you can make it. And so I think if you're not going to have music, that's like a plus in one direction. But I still think that, you don't want to be blasting all of your public announcements either, so that the whole neighborhood is waking up to that, if you can help it.
Sure. So we tend to try and focus our loudspeakers away from residents, so we'll take extra caution in doing so in that. But we do usually start with the Star Spangled Banner. That can be the only music that we have that morning, if that's okay.
I'm just saying, whatever you do, you need to keep it like kind of, you can't blast it so like everybody's up at like whatever time you start, 6:30 or 7. It starts early, right?
It starts at 6:30. The idea that we start it so early is so that we get everybody off the streets before.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, I understand. I understand the reason. I just
we don't love that yet. I'm not a morning person.
No, I understand the reason. I just think as quiet as you can do it.
Sure.
But I'm not going to support it. Okay. Anyway.
Chief, this has been happening for over the last 4 years. Has there been any complaints? Because if it hasn't, there's no change. I'm in support, but it's just want to know to speak to Mary's concerns.
We checked for last year, and there weren't any complaints from the public that we received last year to the police station. However, the officers, when they recognized the loud music and the loud announcements, they went over and told the individuals that they needed to lower it. They thought it was too loud for that time of day. So that did occur last year, but we did not receive any official complaints from the public regarding that came into the police station.
Hats off to the officers, because that's great to be proactive, right?
Well, and I think it'll be nice, just this year, as long as it's managed well and everything like that, our officers won't have to do anything like that, and I think that this can be a very successful event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended petition to allow the announcements and musics per the past practice at the 5th annual half marathon race.
I'll second that, but with some discussion, please, Mr. Chairman. I believe that it's understood what needs to be done. I mean, obviously, on both ends, So with that being said, I'm in favor.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
Are you running?
I never run it while I'm running.
Are you running it? Are you running? Yes, I'm running it.
Yes, I'm running it. That's usually my explanation.
It sounds like an Abbott and Costello movie, doesn't it? So,
It does.
thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item I-1. This is from the Town Administrator regarding his request for your support of the Sale Bristol Warren program.
Mr. Administrator?
Before the end of the school year, Bristol Warren Regional School Year, I was invited to see our fourth graders take what they learned in the classroom with physics, basic physics and math, and as it related to wind direction, keels, and how to sail. And I learned that our fourth graders go out, I believe, 12 times a year on Bristol Harbor with sailboats, and they connect what they learned in the classroom. And so several of our school committee members went out on a launch, and we actually watched the kids sail, and I was quite moved by seeing that and how interested they were in it. And then there were some displays under a tent, and they showed some marketing campaigns. There was some exhibits and so forth. And I just felt as if perhaps the council, at the end of the year, if there was any funding left in your contingency, you'd consider donating to this. I know it was the Rhode Island Marine Trades Association funds most of it, and they're looking for private donations. But I think what I found most significant was the classroom and the practical experience and how these kids really thrived in that environment. So I asked somebody Assistant Superintendent Diane Santa to come and maybe if you had any questions. But it is something that I think if we can afford to support, I think it's a very good program.
Are you? Is there a specific amount that you're asking for?
Well, I checked your bank book, and you had...
thank you.
Sorry, Chairman.
It feels invasive, sir. I don't know.
Right, well.
Yeah, so did I, and we do well. But welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm here with Vanessa Cronin. She's a fourth grade teacher at Gutierrez Elementary School, and she was one of the teachers that was instrumental in helping this program come to fruition. She has some student work, if she could just pass it out there to you very quickly. So this is a grant-funded program. It's from a grant from the Rhode Island Marine Trades Association in partnership with the Herreshoff Marine Museum. And the cost to the district for this program was $10,000 for transportation. It's a 12-week program. Every single fourth grader in Bristol and Warren were able to get out on sailboats, and we connected their science curriculum to sailing. So they were learning weather concepts, force and motion, energy transfer, and the engineering design process within the context of sailing. In addition, we found that it was a wonderful community partnership. The students were building a knowledge of the marine trades within Bristol and Warren, and also the rich history of shipbuilding within Bristol. They had a tour of the museum. They got to talk to different people and interact with different people. The harbor master was there one day, and I got to go out on the boat and take photographs and video of the kids sailing. And the reaction from the students, you can imagine how excited they were. And I'm going to ask Vanessa to speak for just a moment about what the student reaction to this was.
Good evening. In the fall, the students were excited just to put on a life jacket. I mean, to see them, some of them never even put on a life jacket before. So that, to me, that first experience, we are the ocean state. Our children need to have those experiences, and we need to be able to provide them to them, that outdoor learning, bringing what is learned in the classroom and then applying it in the real world. When it was time for the spring, the students were so excited. They now felt more comfortable. They couldn't wait to get on the sailboats, and we were able to then apply engineering designing. So we had a sail car challenge, which they had to think about wind energy and how it related, and each student with a partner would design sails, decide which one would race better, and then they would put it into practice. So going through that whole design practice. Within the classroom, many of the instructors came in, provided the students with a mini lesson with what they were going to go use on the water. So then they were in the classroom learning and then applying on the water. Some of my students, one of their best experiences was the fact that they worked as a team, and they got to make memories. And learning in today's world, you need to be able to work on a team in the professional world. This gave the children the opportunity to also apply that as well. I think it was a success. Many of the children reflected on it afterwards and said that they wish they could do it again next year in 5th grade. So to hear that, knowing that they were learning, they were having fun, but also being outside of the classroom, giving that experience as well, and also connecting it to the community, knowing how Bristol takes pride in their community. This is giving students who are just moving to town that may not know about the history of Bristol, it's now getting them to learn about the history and then go home and share it with their families. So I think this program was great, and hopefully it can continue in the future.
So based on the positive outcomes of the program, we're working on a funding sustainability plan. So we know that we'll always have to rely on some grant portion to fund it, but we're also looking for donations. Our high school marketing class was also involved, and they did a fundraising campaign for us and came up with several strategies. So this is the part of our fundraising campaign where we're seeking donations within the community. So I hope that you will consider this program.
I'm sorry. Okay, I have a question. I'm sorry if I missed it, but did you state how you select the students, how the students are selected for the program?
Every single student. So all 250 fourth graders participated and went sailing for this.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's pretty remarkable. Thanks for coming over here to share with us about this a little bit. I know that any program that Rhode Island Marine Trades Association is involved with is usually a pretty good program. We're very lucky to have them here in Bristol. And I think any time, too, that we can get these students to connect with the water, I think is a great thing. They learn more about the environment. And as you said, it's that deep learning. They're taking the physics that is so theoretical in the classroom, and they're finding out the practical significance of it by doing that, and even with the math and everything like that, and the sailmanship. So learning the knots and everything like that, I think, is a good thing for our students to be exposed to. And again, it's the ocean state. So Thank you for coming here and sharing that with us.
Thank you for your consideration.
I agree with Councilman Lay. I think I grew up on the water here down at Bristol Yacht Club, and sailing was key as far as teamwork, and it's a skill that I've carried through even to today. And I think it's so important. You have to be able to work in a team and to be able to get that boat from one mark to another mark, and you have to kind of figure out how each other works, and if you work differently, how to get them to strategize and get it there. So I think it's a very key skill, and it's great to do it on a boat. So I'm in support. And with what my colleagues feel is a good donation.
So I don't make motions as the chair, but I think that with what we have left in our council contingency, it would seem appropriate if my colleagues are in agreement that we could support with $1,000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We have it in the, just so we're clear, I should tell you that council contingency, and apparently the administrator can approve or verify this, but there's about $4,000, a little more than that right now. So, and that will renew on our July 1st budget. So,
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go 1.5 then.
Is there 2,000? Anybody? 2,000? No. Okay. Is there a second for that motion? So there's a motion for $1,500, and there is a second. Is there any other discussion? And there's no fight from me, just so we're clear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you do us a favor?
Sure.
Would you next year share some of this? If I may, I'm just going to say the first name of the student.
Okay.
Was Lily, and it said, Herreshoff, as in the Marine Museum. I learned how to sail. If you're tacking, pull towards you. The mast is the pole in the center of the ship. I mean, some absolutely perfect examples. So obviously it's working. So it's great. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is a correspondence from Dennis Roy, the CEO of the East Bay Community Action Program. Would like to present to the Council and request support regarding the proposed application for drug-free community grant funds.
Good evening, Mr. Administrator, members of the Council.
Welcome.
Hi, Dennis Roy, CEO of East Bay Community Action Program. I have with me this evening Bob Crosley, who is our Vice President for Behavioral Health Services. Before I begin, I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate your expected appointment tonight to the coalition, so congratulations on that. We're here this evening because we're here to request support for submission of a drug-free community grant to the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. There's $19 million available. There are 150 grants available. A successful project would begin on October 31st of 2019. We have an application deadline of July the 8th. So basic purposes of the grant: establish and strengthen collaboration among communities, public and private nonprofits, federal, state, local governments, and support the efforts of community coalitions working to prevent and reduce substance abuse among youth. And secondly, reduce substance abuse among youth, and over time reduce substance abuse among adults by addressing factors in the community that increase the risk of substance abuse, promote factors that minimize the risk of substance abuse itself. So Our request is for support is all about a partnership among the town, its leadership, the Bristol Prevention Coalition, and EBCAP. We can be the legal vehicle to submit this application to the federal government. It is $125,000 a year for 5 years, and if you're successful, another 5 years. In this particular case, the town did have a drug-free community grant, and from the best I can see, it operated for approximately a year or so. So we would be asking for the remaining 4 years of the first grant, and if successful thereafter, a 5-year grant thereafter. So we would, I understand we have a meeting coming up with the Bristol Prevention Coalition in the near future. We would, we've drafted a memorandum of understanding with them that I hope to have a chance to discuss with the coalition members in the near future. This is only successful with the active support of Bristol Coalition members. There's a lot we can do, but the members themselves really make a difference in making this work happen. I did come to the administrator recently with the idea here. I sent some notes to him about what EBCAP could do. But first of all, for the coalition, as we would propose it, would act as a traditional board of directors. So from that perspective, they would set strategic planning and ongoing policy for prevention activities, formulate goals and objectives, oversee operation of the coalition's activities and programs, approve the budget in compliance with drug-free community requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the major pieces. They'd be involved in the selection, hiring, and potential termination of staff if that ever had to occur. EBCAP would bring expertise in lots of areas. We're a large nonprofit organization. We can provide human resources support. We can provide information technology support. We would be the record keepers. We do all the financial work in this regard. We do all the reporting in this regard. And we would assist the coalition in looking for new members, continuing the great work the coalition already does, working to look at evidence-based prevention strategies, really get into the schools again, and work closely with youth and parents and administrators to really work on important activities prevention related. So unfortunately, timing is not on our side. Sometimes it never is. But it is due on July the 8th. We're actively working on it. I understand we have a meeting coming up with the coalition itself. Once again, it's critical that this partnership come into play so that that's the way this would be successful. What's really important here is that this kind of funding will allow the town residents to really control prevention activities on a local level. And it's the only way to really do this. The state, in my opinion, the state went to a regional approach to provide prevention activities, but didn't fund it. No surprise, I guess. Didn't really fund it as well as possible. So there's just not a lot of funding right now to be able to support these important activities. We believe that we would have a reasonably decent chance of getting support from the federal government, and we've done these kind of grants in the past. I'd be happy to take any questions or any other comments you may have regarding the, the makeup of the MOU itself, what EBCAP can bring to the table, or any other aspects of this request.
I do have some questions. So just for point of clarification, maybe I'm missing something here, but just for point of clarification, so you asking for the town council support?
Yes.
And where would this grant be applicable to? Would it be strictly for the Bristol community?
Yes.
So those funds would revert back here to support activities here in the town?
Yes, our goal would be that 100% of the funding raised would support activities of prevention activities overseen by the Bristol Prevention Coalition. Yes.
Okay, overseen by the Bristol Prevention Coalition.
And
why didn't they take the initiative and you be the support of the agency, the collaborating agency? Why not the reverse?
When I look at the application, you need a legal entity to apply. A 501c3, a town government, a school district to apply to receive the funding. There has to be some identifiable, taxable, identifiable status.
Right, so the town could not apply for it through them with your support? It'd be a collaborating agency?
It could.
Town absolutely could apply, but I would defer to the administrator. That's not
Yeah. So Mr. Roy had met with me recently, and he said he would present a proposal. And what I found interesting was the resources that they have at their that they have access to, which is grant writers, Human Resources Department, and we have a very good track record with EBCAP, East Bay Community Action Development. Some of us may know them operating the Moeller Express, which goes to our local schools. The senior lunch at Benjamin Church is EBCAP. Many years we've been partnered with them, with our police department, for emergency services after hours, which has been very successful. So we've had a very good track record with them. They're very well organized. And this proposal, the main thing about this proposal is that they're going to do a lot of the technical work, but their direction is going to come from our local substance abuse coalition. So it's a built-in structure that I think we could take advantage of. So I don't see any downside to it. I see some really good organization, as long as that MOU that Dennis just spoke about is clearly written, that their direction comes from our local substance abuse prevention coalition, which meets monthly. So I think it's neat. I think it's well organized, and I think there's great accountability with EBCAP.
So EBCAP's the lead organization on this grant.
Yes,
and it's
that's
through
correct.
like probably Department of Health and Human Services or something like that, or
We're a
do you know the federal agency
Yes,
offhand, or?
it's Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA.
Okay. And then Bristol Prevention Coalition is like a sub-recipient of this grant, or you'll be partnering with them. You'll be partnering with them. That's what will be happening.
We are working on the mechanics of submission to be successful to get funding. This doesn't work without a partnership in the final analysis. It's got to be a partnership. It's the way that it should work. It remains with local control. So our organization does a lot of work now in the treatment part of substance abuse and alcohol treatment. We're recently doing work in the recovery business. And so prevention is really the holy grail, so to speak. It's the most important thing we can be doing to avoid these problems for folks to begin with.
So Dennis, is it the coalition that's applying and you're the fiscal agent, or is your agency applying just as a partnership with the there's a slight difference. It's not a huge difference, but a slight difference. So
our agency is applying because we are eligible to apply. However, we had two choices. We could have tried to go out and build a new prevention coalition from scratch, or we could most preferably work with the existing prevention coalition to move this forward. And our choice was the latter.
So what about, now, does Warren have this grant as well?
Warren has a Warren's Prevention Coalition has a drug-free community grant, yes.
Right. And so would there be like collaboration with them as well in terms of going into the schools, since they're a regional school district?
Yes, it's inevitable that we'd have to be some collaboration to avoid overlap, but I think that that work could be accomplished by the two coalitions talking with each other about what roles they might play.
So what year are they in? Second or third year going into?
I don't know enough. I think they're in the first year. I think they're in the first year.
So,
for full disclosure, my wife is the coordinator for the Warren Prevention Coalition.
Right.
That she's involved with the drug-free community grant.
Dennis, help us with, if we push the calendar out 2 years, what does, in your head, what does this allow us to do that we can't do now?
It brings financial resources through drug-free community grant funding. It opens the opportunity for additional funding. It opens the opportunity to have staff working in conjunction with the coalition members to grow the coalition, to look at evidence-based practices, to do more work in the schools where it has to happen, to do the prevention stuff that's important to us all. So I think it's a win-win. I think the resources are right now relatively scarce, and I think this ability to do this is, let's take advantage of it.
I know it's focused on prevention, but will there be some ability to work with the recovery center? I mean, the fact that...
Yeah, absolutely, but the money is dedicated for prevention. But I think what you get from us is a total package, so to speak, in that we do treatment, we do medication-assisted treatments. The recovery center is going on. We're working closely with some folks from the HES to try to keep some semblance of a recovery center here in Bristol.
Right.
So all that stuff's going on.
So, Dennis, you just need us to make a motion to have our town administrator enter into an MOU with you? Is that what you're looking for, basically, to go forward with this application?
I'm letter of support, right?
I think that they're asking for a letter of support. They're looking for an actual MOU. Sometimes they say they want the MOU in the application.
The actual MOU is with the proposed MOU is with the Prevention Coalition itself.
Okay.
We're looking for a support letter.
Okay.
However, if you're more comfortable with entering into a three-way relationship here and defining the terms further, we're very open to that.
No, I just want to know what you want. I mean, I'm happy to make a motion to move forward. I think it's a good match. I think it's a good thing. I mean, unfortunately, we had a bad experience in relation to this project, and hopefully you could, get some of that money back for Bristol. There's no question that there is not enough money in the state to cover all of the projects that they've, Actually, to be honest with you, I'm a little surprised that they still have a semblance of prevention coalitions, because it's gone on for a long time, but there really isn't any money like there once upon a time was. So I'm happy to make a motion that we support this application and that we ask a letter of support to come. Now, do you want it from the council and the town administrator, or just the town administrator? Or?
Well, that would be helpful. So,
how about both?
Well, both?
Yes, please.
So we'd ask that our administrator is authorized to write a letter on his behalf, and then our clerk on our behalf to support this application, which is due right after the 4th of July. Sounds like a lot of fun you all going to have.
So there is, if I may, there's support.
Need it early next week.
Yes. Yeah. You have to also be able to show support from various sectors. So in this case, I've already asked the administrator, we need law enforcement support. We need support from youth service organizations, which would be your recreation department. So there are like MOUs with individuals if this is successful, we'll be asking the administrator to assist us with receiving.
Yeah, we can't really ask him he can do whatever he wants, but certainly on our clerk on our behalf. So, I mean, I don't know that we can make a motion including Steve. We can't, right? He's his own thing.
No, he does.
Yeah, does his own thing in whatever his executive departments are, but certainly on our council behalf that we would send a letter.
And we urge the administrator to do the same.
Right, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
Yes. I'm just clarifying things. Okay, so with the Bristol Prevention Coalition, am I to understand that you have not met with them yet to discuss this?
I have had some meetings with individual members.
But not as a coalition?
I believe there's a meeting scheduled soon.
Well, got to be soon.
This Monday.
Monday.
So I have met with individual members and had some phone conversations with some of the members, but it really comes down to the formal meeting.
How close do you think, I mean, I already made the motion, I think we should support it. Hey, it's like, if we can get whatever funding we can get, but how close is your vision of what you think should be done with the money? I mean, looking at the RFP and so forth, and how close is that going to be related to what the Prevention Coalition as a group may want? I mean, if you've only talked to individuals.
Right. So as I mentioned, time is of the essence. What we did do is we did review the original successful application that was submitted in 2016, which appears to have had the full support of the Bristol Coalition members at that time.
Right.
So what we would do is use that as a base, and then, over time, work with the coalition members to adjust, refine goals and as necessary. So I think it's, we did not start this from scratch. We looked at what was already submitted and actually funded, and I think it's a pretty solid proposal, and it has the coalition members all over it.
And I'm sure you could get a look at the Warren one, too.
Yes.
I need to clarify a couple things. First of all, I agree with the administrator. Obviously, the agency does wonderful work, throughout various communities. So there's definitely not a knock on the agency, but it's just the fact that circumventing the coalition and us having this conversation now when they were not included. That's the piece that it really is not. I'm not swallowing very well.
Okay. I understand. Well, as I said, time is of the essence. I have reached out to coalition members. And it was a series of, I understand there were some issues with vacation leave and all the things that came up. I looked at the town ordinance where it indicates that the town actually appoints the members of the coalition. So I thought that was a advantageous place to at least have the conversation. If the town wasn't interested, then it didn't really matter.
On a 1,000-foot level, without getting into the particulars of it, this aligns with what we want. This is prevention. This also, I'm very happy and to support this because, as you pointed out earlier, planning, objectives, and budget are done through our prevention coalition, a couple of members here this evening. So the control stays with the town, and it stays with the members that this council, and of course this council is a member of the prevention coalition too by ordinance. But I like that. I like the control stays. I think Councilman Texera brings up a good point. That's a fair point to say. Is that was there a meeting beforehand? Is this cart before the horse? I think it comes down to timing, as you've already said. But I keep coming back to the same point, which is the control rests with the Prevention Coalition and the town. So I'm comfortable with that because what we're talking about right now is no cost to us, $125,000 a year for 4 years to help us have less kids and adults use drugs. Why would we not support this? That does not diminish your point, though. So I agree if there was 2 months, then I think I would admonish you for that, but that is not, in fact, the case. It was a short amount of time, and it would seem that we should take advantage of this, knowing that we will still have the control through the Prevention Coalition. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I say something before you make the motion?
We have a motion, in this, but you are more than welcome. Please. Of course you can. What I just state your name for the record.
My name is Barbara Palumbo.
And I say welcome.
I am a member of the Bristol Prevention Coalition, and I have been for quite some time. Some of us have spoken at different levels with the town administrator, with Dennis Roy. In the overall view of this, it is a fantastic idea. I was quite interested. I had a meeting myself with Dennis. But the cart before the horse, we're meeting Monday. Okay, so we're meeting Monday. Today is Wednesday. Before you make a motion, I would like to invite everyone to the meeting on Monday. There are many questions that need to be answered. We haven't seen the MOU. We haven't seen the grant. I'm cautious. If it works out where this is going to be a fantastic venture, believe me when I tell you, I will be the first one. But I need to see it. There are a lot of questions. Sectors. This is something we need to really look into. This is a big concern of mine. You cannot backdate, and we don't have the sectors. We do not have them. I need more time. Monday, some of our coalition members don't even know what this is. They haven't even had the opportunity to look at an application, to read, this is the application. We've done research. We've done this before. I just think before you make a motion to support, you need to know more. And there's a lot more to know.
So I think and you bring up some great points. The concern is that our next meeting, will be after the submission deadline. Therefore, we missed the opportunity.
Not necessarily. You stated that you are voting members of the coalition. If you come to the meeting, you will be better educated from both sides. There's not enough time here tonight to go through the questions
So we're
we need to do.
One moment, and absolutely you'll make your point.
Yep.
Before we go any farther, Mr. Solicitor, could you speak to that particular point?
Vote at that meeting anyway. meeting?
Yeah, I mean, the council can't do it unless you schedule a council meeting.
That's what I thought. And that's what I wanted to make that point to you, because it isn't a lack of wanting to go to an extra meeting. It's because of the way everything is advertised, because it's already set up, we would miss it at this point in time. So initially it does, I don't disagree with what the point you were trying to make, but at the end we can't do it that way.
Right. So you're supporting something you do not know all of.
Can I just make
That's
one
all I'm
suggestion?
saying.
Absolutely,
I just have one
Of course.
suggestion here. I mean, we can only speak for the council, not for the administrator or his, department heads, okay? One thing we could do, it depends what my colleagues want to do, is, are you the chairman of the?
I am not.
Okay.
Who is, wait, if I may, who is the chairman?
Mike Burns is our chair.
He's the chair right now. Thank you.
I mean, I think one thing we could do, if people are in agreement, is if the chair of the Prevention Coalition, after your meeting on Monday, wants to move forward, that we are empowering, it's our clerk that's going to write the letter on our behalf anyway, and if they, let him know that they want to participate. I think we should, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I understand how these things go, and particularly this week is a very tough week coming up for everybody in this community. But if our group feels that strongly about it, then we just could empower Lou to only write the letter if the chairperson contacts him and asks him to. I don't know if that's possible. Is that possible, Andy? We could do that, right?
So if the board approves the venture?
One sec, just so.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. I don't know. I'm just asking if that's.
So you're suggesting a motion to authorize the clerk to send a letter of support on behalf of the council, but subject to the board's support on Monday.
Correct. Can we do that?
Yes?
I don't know what other people feel about it, but that seems to be the only way that, unless we just want to do it anyway, or not do it at all, that's the only way that we could probably meet your needs and in support. I don't know.
So before I comment on that, just so I'm clear on something, tell us what the negatives are. So if we support this, what negatives happen from that?
The grant itself does not have negatives. It's in preparation to apply for the grant is where my hesitation, as well as other members who have had some conversations. It's even iffy that we do qualify. And if we do qualify, hey, let's write the grant, yay. My biggest concern are the 12 sectors. They have to be in place. They have to be in place in order for you to apply for this grant. We have 7 voting members. Where are the other sectors? And we don't have health care, and we don't have religious or fraternal order. Nobody is allocated as a member, as a sector. Yes. The police count, yes. The town administrator counts. But when you're looking at the other 12 sectors, we don't have them. We don't have the members.
So let's stop right there, and Dennis, if you would, could you address that?
It seems to me that that's what you're going to build.
Because it feels like that's a major concern.
Through the HES.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
First of all, I'm certainly amenable to the suggestion about the coalition having their meeting and having its say in the matter. Because in the final analysis, as I said earlier, it's really about EBCAP, the coalition, and the town. So if one of the parties is not interested, then we try again at some future point. So number one, absolutely fine with that. Number two, we've been doing this grant work for years. This is really a small-sized grant in the work that we usually do. These sectors will not be difficult at all to find. In fact, we have most of them completed already. We've been talking to St. Michael's.
No. Barbara, we're going to because we're going to do one at a time. It's very important and respectful. It's okay. Go ahead, please.
As I read the grant application, it's not necessary for a sector person to be a coalition member. So, for instance, we've been to St. Michael's Church. We've been to the business communities. We've been to Mount Hope High School. We've gotten people already interested. We're talking to others. So it's important that some of the sectors are represented by the coalition, but it's not necessary. that all of the, I know we're getting into great detail here.
Because honestly, I don't want to go too deep in.
Of course, I understand.
What I'm hearing, and my colleagues can share their thought, but what I'm hearing is that I hear concerns from Barbara and the Prevention Coalition. That's fair. I think that's excellent, actually. But I also don't hear any push to do anything that's other than from the coalition and from EPCAP to do what's necessary to get the grant in a compliant and professional way. So I don't see the downside here of at least attempting to go down this road. And if the end result is not positive, then nothing ventured, nothing gained. I guess we didn't lose anything to do it. We only lose $125,000 a year for the opportunity. And I don't hear you fighting that. You just want to make sure it's done right. So do we. So do we. There's no push on whether or not it should be done right. I just don't want us to lose an opportunity. Yes, it's last minute. No, I'm not the biggest fan of last minute. But that's not a reason not to take advantage of this in my head. So,
I mean, I've read my share of RFPs in my time, and I haven't read this one, but I've read many, 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 and applied for many, some with more time than others. So I just can't imagine that there is an RFP that says you must have all of these in place if they're going to fund you to help build the coalition. You know what I mean? So it seems to me that I would guess, without having read it, that it's something that it's part of your planning, it's part of how you're going to go about getting them. It's probably a section of, like, here's what we already have, and then we're also going to be affiliated with, I'm just using the HES because I see them here, and, and they have this group of people already in place, and, so I think that's probably part of the strategies of what you'll be putting in the application as your objectives.
That's correct. I just want to, if you don't mind, I'd just like to correct a small part of the conversation. We did submit a draft MOU to Emily earlier this week, and I know she's begun to distribute that. So coalition members will have time in advance of the meeting next Monday to review that.
So again, what I took from Barbara's comments was not specifically that the sectors. It was more about let's just make sure things are right. We're hearing that. There's no objection to that. For myself, I don't want to say no because I believe that this is an opportunity. And what I'm hearing, and I would ask that you convey these things either through the clerk or to me or through the administrator. If it's not that way, we want to know about that too. And I'm hearing only agreement on all sides. I don't want to say personally, and obviously it's up to my colleagues to vote themselves, I don't want to say no to something that seems appropriate. I don't think you want to say no either. You just want to make sure it's right. We all agree on that, and I think we can all work together to get that done, in my opinion. So what do my colleagues think?
Mr. Chair.
Can I just hand this to you, Mary?
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
So, yeah.
That's fine.
That is
okay.
right
I'll get a copy.
from
I think, Mr. Chairman, what I'm hearing from my colleagues tonight, at the root of this, it comes from good, and it's prevention, and it's saving lives, and I think at very little risk to the town, I think we should move forward to support the grant application process, and I would like to go with what Councilwoman Perella had proposed in regards to authorizing the town clerk to draft a letter, and if that is in support, and we can get this grant process moving forward, we can move forward. That makes sense.
Mr. Clerk, if you could remind me, did we have a motion and a second on the floor?
Yeah.
We did to approve it, correct?
We do.
And that motion was made by you, Mary?
Yeah, that was before Barbara.
Right. So could you amend your motion if you believe that's appropriate to?
If people feel that that's the way they want to go, I mean, I'm open either way, but I would say that we would support the grant application and authorize our clerk to write a letter on the council's behalf in support once he hears in the affirmative by the coalition chair. The Prevention Coalition chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. When is this next meeting, please?
Monday at 4 p.m. at the coalition office in Reynolds School.
Reynolds School. Okay. We, this council, are voting members, so I know 4 o'clock is quite difficult for those gosh darn people who work all day, right? So it's probably all of us.
We all do.
Yeah, I know. But now that we all know it's there, that's potential that we could to be in attendance also to discuss this. I'm okay with that because I believe at the end that the goal is the same. It's just making sure that we're doing the right steps. So I think everybody's expressing concern, rightfully so, but I think that we should get to the end, and I think we will. So we have a motion and a second. Everybody's clear with it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
want this page back? You might want this page back.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. I see that, but I just, thank you. Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is item I3 from the Director of Community Development requesting executive session to consider lease of town property. I'm assuming we'll take that up at the conclusion of the public agenda. The next item is bid 911. This is for a RBC repair for the water pollution control facility. You have one bid received in the amount of $28,995.
Motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item K1, and this is the periodic report from the Bristol County Water Authority Director, Alan Klepper.
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second that with a couple of comments or questions.
Sure.
Actually, I've noticed that they say 10,805 meters have been replaced. Well, mine was one of them, so it's included on that. However, trying to read that meter to monitor the use, I can't figure it out unless somebody can tell me different. So, I mean, you look at it and the thing is completely dark. So there's no way of monitoring. There is no numbers, nothing at all there. So maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Have any of you experienced that on the new meters?
I couldn't read the old meter, Tony.
The old meter I could. I could monitor those suckers pretty well, believe me.
Because I honestly couldn't.
Yeah,
But, the
Tony,
new
I've just
meter-
been cross-referencing my bills, just making sure they're not going up too much.
Yeah.
So take a look at that.
So it may be, maybe they can explain. Well, maybe I should call the company directly. But if I'm experiencing that, I'm bringing it out because other folks probably experiencing the same thing.
Yep.
So that maybe they need to do a little education, on that end of it. And the other is obviously to see that, we did identify the leak, and obviously some things are being done to address that. Obviously, it seems like it's going to be the longer term, to slip lining. That appears to be the thing, but that's obviously the engineering piece there. So, receive and file.
Is there a second?
Yes, I did second that.
I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
There's also an additional request for an executive session from the solicitor. Then we have item HH14.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
That was withheld at the request of Councilwoman Perella, and I'm also informed that the Ms. Daniels, who sent in that item, would like to address the council.
Of course.
Oh, good. Got moved up and sit down, so they don't have to.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Cindy Daniels. I live at 412 Thames Street in Bristol. I live next to the port side, and
A little bit closer to it.
I live next to the
Push it back towards you.
Whatever's comfortable for you.
I live next to the port side, and I wasn't here at the June 5th meeting. I didn't know there was a June 5th meeting, and I was out of town that day. If I was there, I would have definitely told my opinion of what's going on with the tent. The tent is up, and I'd like to tell you what I've experienced so far. There's two levels of this. First of all, I love Bristol. I came here in '89. I had that property in about '94 when there was a dog training school there. So it was before all the restaurants came. The only restaurant that was there was probably down the road, the SS Dion and Quitos. The neighborhood has changed quite a bit. The tent, what it has done, the first night of the erecting of the tent, 5:15 in the morning, one of the workers starts servicing some sort of silver canister, and my bedroom is right there, so it wakes me up, 5:15 in the morning. We now have a 1 o'clock closing time. you don't close a restaurant at 1 o'clock. It usually closes later than that, and there's a lot of noise. So my window to get decent sleep, just on that 1 o'clock closing time, and then the activities that happen with the restaurant, whether it's the late night activities or the activities early in the morning, is really destroying my quality of life, my quality of sleep. Other things that happened since then, a beer truck blocked one lane of Thames. You see, what happens when you erect a 30 by 30 foot tent in a parking lot? That parking lot, I reviewed the meeting, and in the meeting it says, well, you can't park there during the parade festivities. What happens in that parking lot is employees park there, all the service trucks go there, the dumpsters go there. So now they can't go there. So what happens to the employees? Of course, they have to park somewhere on the street. What happens to the service trucks? Sometimes we have a one lane on Thames Street during the busiest time of the year. What happens to the garbage? At 1:30 at night, whatever time it is, they roll all the dumpsters, and they're blocking the sidewalk late at night. And of course I hear this. I'm trying to sleep, but I don't sleep because I hear this. They're there in the morning. They were there even during the afternoon while diners of the port side are dining there. They have an 8-foot table blocking the sidewalk. They have, and this is just, various things. The Porta-John. Early in the morning, they go to service the Porta-John, probably, let's see, what day was that? And you have this all documented. I sent the letter, so you should have a copy of this. But so first, the Porta-John wakes me up with the noise. 2 days later, they go to service the Porta-John, and it wakes me up with the smell. It's ungodly. Right beneath my window, 2 Porta-Johns. And this is going to happen continually. So the tent is up. I'm asking that, number one, you don't do this again, because just think about this. We have one-lane traffic sometimes on Thames Street. What's happening with anyone who has a pet and walks a dog, they can't walk it where the concert is. They tell them to go across the street where the restaurant is and where I live. So now that gets even busier, and so they're walking in the street with their dogs. That makes the street even busier. So it is insane, the consequences of having this tent. Forget about me personally, what's happening to me and my quality of life. What if there was a fire? What if there was a medical emergency? My neighbor, several times a year, he has medical emergencies. Ambulance, police, and fire have to stop because there's so much congestion. Someone can lose their life. Someone could be seriously injured. Where's my glasses? So, if you don't care about my personal quality of life, I understand that. I'm just one person. But this affects the quality of life of Bristol. The 1 o'clock closing, I just don't understand that. I don't understand why there's a need to drink from 10:30 to 1. If you look at any lifestyle quality of life issues, it doesn't help to drink after 11 o'clock. It doesn't help to drink at all. It doesn't help to eat after 11 o'clock. So I don't get that. But that's just one thing. But this tent, I understand it's temporary. But it's not a good idea even for a day because of the traffic and congestion. And I don't understand why I wasn't informed in any way. And I talked with some of my neighbors. They didn't know about it either. So someone here, I don't know who said, but when I was reviewing the video, and the question was asked, what do the neighbors have to say about it? Neighbors don't have anything to say about it. The neighbors didn't know about it. I don't know where this was posted, but people aren't getting, it's not being communicated what's happening in this room. So you would have, besides the fact that there's, with all this happening in the world today, there's a growing sense of apathy and hopelessness. I think more people would be involved if they were more directly communicated, particularly in a butter. I just hope that the next time there's a request for the restaurant that impacts an abutter, myself, and the other abutter, that there's a letter sent to me so I can be prepared.
So, let me just say a quick comment. Cynthia had called me about this issue after the last meeting, and she had referenced to me that someone else had gotten a letter. And I did check with Mike, and there is no notification except for the first time you get a liquor license, I guess. Andy, is that correct? If I understand it right? So, I mean, the one thing we could think about is if there's a major change, we could look at that as that would have to be a change of policy or ordinance.
So, for example, if we were to change,
like
in this instance, if it's a change in closing hours or something like that, to have...
Yeah. I mean, that's like, if there's a big change like that. I think that, my suggestion is that I think what's important, and I know the police are very busy. I mean, the fact that we've had a lot of rain has probably kept it a little quieter down there some of the days. But I do think that it's important, as I mentioned to you, personally, is that when there are issues, they need to be on the record. And so not if it's something that's not to be just like putting it on the record for no reason, but if there's really serious issues, because what we do look at all the time is what did the police have to say? Were there issues that were raised about a property or a project? And so when any of these renewals come up, then that is what's going to be asked. So I do think if there's a really big issue with the tent, you need to document that with the police department, but certainly with the 1 o'clock closing, you need to document that as well. And I think that is what, when they all come in, because when they get on a regular cycle, because the 6 months now is a 6-month review, brings it right to the time when we have our regular renewals. And it's going to be important to be able to know if that's, how disruptive that has been. And so, because that is a different occurrence down in that area, there's not been anything that closes. And you weren't here earlier, but the, Christians, they're talking about their, the new owner of Christians to just keep and maintain their regular time frame. So I think it was important to have this on the record even today, like your letter. You referenced a letter about the Porta-John or something. I haven't seen that letter. I just have the letter, your original letter is what we have here in our packet.
I sort of did it like a part two. I mean, right now what's happening is the delivery trucks are just blocking the driveway, even though it says active driveway, they just block it, and I'm not going to call the police for something like that. I feel the police have much more important things to do, but it's not right.
So on Mary's comment in regards to notification, as was said, that a new license would require it, but a change does not. I have absolutely no opposition to having taken a look at that and saying, why not?
Thank you.
Because you also made a point that you said that if we don't care about one person, I know that was out of frustration, but that is not in fact the case. So, and our goal here is, that's why it is televised too, is to get out to as many people as possible. But if it doesn't reach everybody, and we can change something that will reach more, I don't think anybody would have any opposition to that whatsoever.
Great.
So it makes total sense to me. You, Brent, you brought up a couple of other issues that sounded more like a possibility of the business owner making some adjustments. We had a concern similar to this with another facility, and they were able to rectify it by pushing up those times. So it's not 5:30 in the morning that somebody's moving heavy stuff around, or if it's consistent. If it's a one-off, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if it's happening all the time, there's got to be a way to make sure that the business business still can survive, but yet you can survive, or anybody that lives next to it.
I could tell you stories, you know. I mean,
Well, my goal was, and
Yeah.
I know yours is too, ours, I apologize, is to see if we can improve the situation.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any conversation, I wasn't aware of this, but my experience with most business owners is that if they know about something like this, that they'll take steps to make it better.
And
So-
it pains me. It pains me to be here, and I don't want to be a complainer. You know, I want Mr. Corrente to be successful. I like what he did in terms of, the renovation of the restaurant. So it's just unfortunate that the 10th alone is a nightmare, I think, for the town because of what it has done with traffic. The 1 o'clock time is not a good idea either for a variety of reasons, but
with the time since it happened, you got hit with both things right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
The 1 o'clock and the 10 are almost started at the same time, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 1 o'clock activity is not happening under the tent, though. Am I correct?
No,
okay.
it is not.
10 o'clock.
It is not. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
just. It's just.
That's a good point.
Still, the sort of commotion that happened till
Could you state your name,
I'm
please?
sorry, my name is Julio Amaro, and I live at 412.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry.
Not at all.
And what happens is that because of the late hours closing, that's, of course, last call, everybody get out, and because the alcohol level in the blood is high, people is talking very loud. And this is 1:30, and there's people still in the street having fun in the street, And we either keep our windows closed, and it still comes through. But it is quite annoying, and you don't get a good sleep because of that.
So I think what we'll do from here is we'll take the low-hanging fruit first, which is we'll take a look at notifications. So this council will work with the administrator, the solicitor, and the clerk to see if we can come up with a better way to, as things change like this, there's an opportunity for abutting neighbors to express support or not support, depending on
Great.
each case and each instance. So that's an easy one for us to take a look at. Another potential one is working with the business owner to maybe augment that early morning hour and make sure that that there's less noise at the early hours. So that would be another possibilities. But
Not to mention the late moving of, this is with the tent. With the tent, they have to move the dumpsters onto the street because you can't get through the tent, so, but that's a temporary situation, but the point is, I hope it never happens again.
Okay.
Have you talked to the Mr. Corrente?
Yes.
You have, okay.
Yes.
So he is aware of your concerns. Good.
Well, it was because I didn't know what was happening, it wasn't until the tent is going up
Yeah, of course.
that I spoke with him. And so then all the things that have transpired since then, I haven't because it's...
It's common sense to him. He should have approached us.
I'm sorry.
I think it would have been common sense. I think it would have been common sense from him to have approached us as to what was going to happen and when it was going to happen, so we know whether to advise him to do something different or abide by it. We were just everything happened as it went. Once it was open, we started seeing the consequences.
But to answer your question a little bit more, I don't want to police my property. I just want to live there peaceably.
Of course.
So I don't want to have to go to my neighbor like, well, this happened today and this happened tonight and this. I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a pain in the neck neighbor.
No.
But I have to voice this to someone. I have spoken with. He knows that we're not happy about the tent. But the whole thing, it needs to be more resident friendly.
Yeah. Keep in mind that she has been living. I've been living there for 6 years, and she's been living there for over 20 years. And
Yeah.
this is the first time that something like that happened. So.
Mm-hmm. We will take those next steps unless there's disagreement from the council. Mary, this was your agenda item. What would you like to do?
Well, I would like to look at notification, because I do think it's a big deal to have the tent issue. I do think it's a big deal to move to 1 o'clock time frame, especially in an area that doesn't have any other 1 o'clock time frame restaurants or establishments. So I would like to ask the solicitor to look at that and to see if what other communities do, and if we could set something up to notify residents in those situations. I think that would be important.
For changes. I shouldn't say substantial, because I suppose everybody thinks of that differently. So,
I mean, I'm not sure that, and then I think that's the main issue. I do think that I understand you, and I'm not encouraging you to be a obnoxious neighbor that you're calling them every single minute, but I do think that if you just want to let things slide, then nothing will change.
Right.
In relation, because they'll say, well, there's been no problems there.
Yeah.
And so I do think you have to, just kind of be vigilant, and hopefully the business owner will be cooperative as well. It is a big issue, and, like you say, people are talking outside. You can hear them. I think no matter where you live in the downtown area, like this week and next week are going to be a little crazier. And so, I hear people all the time at night talking, even by where I live, at like 1:30 in the morning. So hopefully he will have the sense to also, ask people to just move along. And I think the police, that's one of my concerns that I raised last time. They're very busy, like at the other end of Thames Street and in other places, that now we've just introduced a whole nother establishment for them to have to kind of like keep an eye on and get people to move along. I'm not, everybody here knows I wasn't in favor of that the last meeting. So I think we just have to all work together to try to make the best of it, and then just really monitor, like on the tent situation. Because I'm very concerned about the precedents that set, because just down the road, next to 2 other restaurants, is a much bigger parking area.
Well, but truly the worst is when you take away a driveway and parking area and replace it with a tent.
Right, that's true.
That creates congestion, traffic, and safety issues on Thames Street. Really amazingly, whether you're a pedestrian, you're walking with your dog, you're trying to pull out of a driveway, you're trying to pull out of a parking spot, and there's 18-wheelers everywhere trying to unload. It's so chaotic down there, and this never had to be.
So I'm going to take Mary's comments as a motion to refer with all those.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And
Next, we have the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
So I understand next week's the 4th of July. Is it? Yes. Yes. Some wonderful events happening right now, including, we had Flag Day and all the things that are leading up so far. The concerts, I haven't been yet, which I'm just with crazy schedules and all that, haven't been there. But it's I've gotten some wonderful feedback, as always. People from out of town will say to me all the time, it's just a beautiful place to come down and see, the parade included. So looking forward to it. I'd just like to thank in advance, again, the 4th of July committee for all the hard work that they do. The 4th of July ball was very nice on Friday night. That's one example of so many things that go into making the 4th of July the 4th of July. There's a lot of other people that make it a 4th of July, too. Our police department and the other law enforcement agencies that help us make sure that we have a safe and happy place for that 4th and all the things leading up to it. DPW, I'm going to leave out a lot of people, so I'm going to be careful I'm not listing too many here, but all the people that work for the town, the things that they do, including fielding calls like, what's the concert tonight? I was standing over there this morning when a couple calls came in, and the response was quick and happy. So that's great. So I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I also wanted to say that with the changes in the school system and the leaving of the superintendent, I think there's an opportunity in a challenging moment that we're in right now, but to potentially reset the clock. I know that at JFC we talked about an audit, and I believe, I wasn't there, but the school committee spoke again about an audit to be done. And the audit's goal is not to necessarily find bad, it's to bridge that gap. I know that we've all received correspondence asking us to take a look at those things even closer for next year, and we had the sailing program tonight to support that. So I think, let me restate that with this change, I understand the school committee will, I would assume, do a national search or a regional search for a new administrator. I think it's a wonderful time to reset the clock, to take a look at those finances, because that's the part that we're most involved in. Find ways to bridge that gap. Is there new opportunities for us? And my goodness, what a great time. I also think it's a great time to reach out to the state, our reps and senators, and the new commissioner for the education of education. It's a great time. With all this new energy, hopefully, it's a time to say, is what we have still appropriate? I'm going to remind everybody we've lost about $7 million of state aid. So when you do the math, it's not just what you lost, it's what didn't you gain. Everybody's got a cost of living, right? Every year you go to your boss, maybe you're your own boss, and you say, hey, I need more money because things are more expensive, right? We've gone the other way. So all of those come from the towns. Those, as we all know, we take this very seriously. For myself, I have 2 children in the school system, young children in the school system. They're going to be there a while. So when I make those decisions, I have my dad hat on too, and it is very challenging. But is there a better way for us to do this? And I think this is something that we can do. I'd like to work with the school committees, the administration, the new administrator when they come in. I think it's an absolutely appropriate time for us to take a look at this again and find out how we can make that better. It represents over 50% of our budget, and it should. It's that important. But we also have to be cognizant of the fact of every resident and how it affects everyone, as we all do. And I'm not saying that we don't. I know it's a lot of work. But I think we need to take that next step. I know that was a long way to say, let's take advantage. And I think we need to do it, and I'm going to help get that done. Thanks.
Excellent.
Happy 4th of July.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, with the chairman, I'd like to just say that you made a lot of great points on the school. I think with the national search for the new superintendent, I think this council and the Warren Town Council, since we are the joint finance, it may be a good time to write a letter to the school committee and saying that maybe one of us or 2 of us would be part of that search committee. I think it's important that we whoever we're appointing to that superintendent position needs to be not only good as far as schools go and academia, but also in regards to being a good businessman or businesswoman. So kind of have that balance. And I think understanding town budget, morphing into the school budget, I think it's good. So I don't know what you guys consider. I'm open to it, but I think we should be a part of the search process, at least one of us from Bristol Town Council and the Warren Town Council. But I think you make a lot of good points, Chairman, not being part of that. So
we certainly defer to the school committee because it's their choice. But, I think all of us would raise our hand to be part of it if they want us.
Right, because as you mentioned, the budget it makes up more than 50% of our budget, so it's important. So on that note, I'll move on. I want to say, Chief, I hear you're moving on, and you had big shoes to fill, and you came in and you did a great job. I want to thank you for that. I understand you're going back to the island, but hope you come back and visit us quite a bit. But thank you for all you've done for the town. Appreciate it. And to everybody out there that's watching tonight and here, 4th of July is coming up. Have a safe one and have a fun one and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Have a good night.
Mr. Texera.
Well, I'll make it very brief. I concur with the comments that were made by the chairman, and it is time to reset the clock, and no accusations, nothing at all, but I do agree that a forensic audit is necessary of the school budget, and I think we may just find out that maybe some things around that we have not tapped into some of the resources. With that being said, Chief, thank you for your service, for the time that you were here with us. I understand you're still going to be around with us right through, so thank you. And with all being said, happy safe 4th of July to all. Thank you.
Ms. Perella.
Well, I'll start like everyone else on the school issue, just briefly. I know we've all gotten many, some letters and emails from people looking to reopen the budget, and I met with one of the parents yesterday, and tried to explain, just how we look at all of this. But one of the things that you mentioned, the chairman mentioned, and that I know I've talked about in the past, and I really am more persuaded of this legislative session. There has to be more work with our legislators and with other legislators.
Yeah.
I ended up being at the State House a lot this year for a different issue, work-related issue, and every time you turn around, there was something. And I'll give you just a very quick example. The governor put together this efficiency commission, and the efficiency commission had 13 points. It didn't go anywhere in the budget. One of the points was to take audiology, the hearing test that the kids do, take it away from the school for the deaf and give it to the school nurses in the cities and towns to do, which would incur the cost to us. Plus, no one has the equipment, so you have to, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So every time you turn around, there's something going on, that there's something else that's going to be shifted because there's no money at the state. In addition to that, I had sent it to Nathan, and this goes back to late April. I happened to be watching the House Finance Committee one night, and there was a very interesting proposal to freeze the funding formula, and that was led by South Kingstown. And I did share that with the woman I met with the other day. And I think that gives people, it's not just Bristol Warren, it's every single school district in Rhode Island, even urbans, because of the accelerated formula, is in a mess right now financially. And if we're going to be successful at this, it can't just get passed on to the property taxpayer. It just can't. There's just not enough money. You cannot go 2, 3, 4 million every year additionally. And so I think this has to be addressed at a legislative level. We probably need to meet with our own legislators, but I think we need to meet with...
It's got to be bigger than that.
It's got to be bigger, yeah. It has to be, the parent groups or others getting together and, really paying attention to what goes on. Because as I said, it's not just some of the good ideas that somebody may have, like freezing the funding formula, which I thought was like a terrific idea. I don't know if that happened or not. I have a feeling it did not, because I feel like we would have heard about it. But I didn't look close enough at the. I looked at the budget articles, but I didn't look for that specifically. But what else are they trying to do to shift the costs away? You know what I mean? And that is because that same hearing they had the transportation issue. If the state took some of that on, like for out of school district transportation. But then what else are they going to do to say, hey, let the locals pick? I mean, I don't know about in Bristol Warren, but where I work, the school nurses don't have 5 minutes to take on another project, So.
You got to purchase the equipment, too.
Oh, yeah, right. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I think it's very imperative that there's coalitions formed around the state of parents and people, community leaders and councils to push this agenda item. As I've mentioned, I think in the past, I'm sure they still do it, but I haven't been there when they've done it in the last year or two. The parochial schools do a fabulous job of having parochial school day there. They're there, they have a presence, they highlight all these great programs. Like we saw one of them tonight. That would be real interesting to have them in the rotunda area around, when the legislators are going in. All the interesting things going on in schools that we need to focus on. So I think we can, there's all those kind of days we can have. There's a lot of different things that we need to work on. Other than that, I want to thank you, Chief Peters. Congratulations on your new job. Interim Chief Burke, congratulations. You're all going to have a blast. Well, Chief Burke already knows because he's been here, but you'll be prepared for pretty much anything wherever you go after this next week or so. Chief Peters, I think. So unfortunately, you're all staying around. And also, when is our next meeting, Lou? Is it in
July 17th?
The 17th. I think the Mount Carmel Feast. I think I'm correct. I think it's the weekend before. So it's that weekend before our meeting, so if anybody be looking for that. The interfaith service for 4th of July is this Sunday at 3, which is always a really nice event. And that will be at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church. And with that, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July as well. Thank you.
Mr. Lay.
I'll just second what a lot of my colleagues just said. I think that with the school, with the superintendent moving on, I think that it is a good opportunity for us to start anew. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of moving forward on that. Just a couple things. I know that Bristol Health Equity Zone recently had a survey that went out. I think you can go to their website, Bristol Health Equity Zone, if you Google it. I know I put it out on my Facebook page, my town council Facebook page, so you can find it there. And they're really hoping that as many people as possible will fill that out. It's a survey about opioid abuse or substance abuse, and so I hope everybody will take a little bit of time to fill that out. I also wanted to just quickly congratulate one of our constituents for just receiving her citizenship, her U.S. citizenship, Sarah Bullard. She does a lot of work here in town. She's very active in Parents as Teachers. And so I just wanted to say happy 4th of July for your first time as being a citizen of the United States, and I hope that you enjoy the full rights and obligations of citizenship, and I hope that everybody who's just recently received their citizenship will have a happy 4th of July and will enjoy the full rights and obligations and responsibilities of citizenship. So with that being said, happy 4th of July, and we'll see you guys at the next meeting.
Town Administrator, agenda items.
Thank you. I'd first like to extend our condolences to the Amaral family, Mrs. Zelia Amaral from Bristol. I believe she had 7 children. She had passed, and she's warmly known by many of us in the East Bay as being one of the finest bakers of sweetbread, and so our deepest condolences to the Amaral family. As we know, Chief Peters is being appointed to police chief in neighboring Portsmouth, where he originally was from. He last served there as deputy chief, and I want to thank him for his excellent service here in Bristol and his willingness to step in when needed for law enforcement. Chief, thank you. In his absence, after his departure on July 5th, the day after the parade at 4 p.m., we have sworn in Captain Brian Burke, who's with us tonight. Captain Burke, I had the privilege of serving with him. I'm familiar with his character and his work ethic, and I'm confident that he's going to continue to steer the department until the process for a new chief is completed. That process is ongoing. It has been. The administrator's evaluation points are complete. The Personnel Board has announced a written exam date, but at this point the candidates have their time to study for the examination. So as soon as that list is certified, there will be a permanent appointment to a police chief. Captain Burke, thank you for stepping in. At this point, I'd like Chief Peters to update us on the progress with our accreditation.
Thank you. Just wanted to update the council where we stand on the accreditation process. The police department at this time is in the process of CLEAR accreditation, which is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. So that's the national standard for accreditation. We've been going through this process for a few months now, and the officers of the department have been hard at work gathering our files together and putting out our standards. We received some positive information this week from the regional manager of CLEAR, who was able to remotely access our files and said that we are ready for our initial assessment. So that was some positive news that we got. The next step in the process would be mid-July, where assessors would actually log into our system remotely. They would review our files, and then it would be August 19th and 21st, if all goes well, we'd be scheduled for an on-site assessment. So that's positive news, because originally we were looking at a December on-site assessment.
Okay.
So I give credit to the officers. There's 3 officers in particular which would be Sergeant Ricardo Morato, Detective John Nappy, and Brandon Correa, who were involved in this, who's the accreditation officer. And that's important because they worked tirelessly behind this, and it was a daunting task putting this all together. There's over 150 policies, over 180 standards that they had to look at, and it's because of their hard work and under the direction of Captain Burke that we were able to move this timeline up, because I believe that the police department knows that this is very important to the town and the organization. With that being said, I also want to address the police department, because I think there was some negative information that was given about the police department, and I want to say that even though they don't have the plaque on the wall, the police department is a very professional organization up there at that police department. So coming from the outside, I can see what goes on in other police departments around the state, and they have their act together at the Bristol Police Department. So I want to assure the citizens of Bristol and the town council that it's a professional organization, and it's not just the officers themselves, it's every aspect of that police department, the clerks, the dispatchers, the secretaries, the animal control officers. Everyone in that police department is well-trained, they're professional, and they come in and day out looking to do what's best interest for the town of Bristol. And come from the outside, I recognize that, and I see that, and I appreciate that. And I think it's important that the town knows that and the town council knows that, of how well someone from the outside looks at that, and I can see that. So that being said, I think the police department's in a good position. I think Captain Burke, I have more than enough confidence, and the town administrator has more than enough confidence in Captain Burke and the other members of the command staff up there and all the members of the police department. And I think the police department is in a great position going forward on this. While I have the mic, I just want to also thank the town administrator for his trust and confidence in appointing me to this position. The members of the town council, I appreciate your confidence in me, as well as your patience as I kind of learn the system here in Bristol, and also the members of the public and the other members of town. I mean, everybody since day one has been wonderful to me. You know, somebody coming in from the outside, so I really appreciate everybody's help and assistance. And thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'd just like to remind everyone, we have a mutual aid pack with Warren and Portsmouth, so if you need Chief Peters to come back for a council meeting, we can get him.
We pull the fire alarm or something? Why don't we do that? Bat signal? Something?
That's all I have for an update, and happy 4th of July to everyone. Be safe and enjoy the celebration.
Motion.
Just very quickly, no, I'd just like to thank Captain Burke for stepping up and obviously take on the reins, after the 4th. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Nope.
No. Oh, sorry.
Nice try.
Tried.
Yeah, technically a motion to adjourn is always in order and non-debatable, but we do have an executive session on the agenda. So I would request a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A5 regarding lease of town property, solar project at landfill, and remain in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A2 litigation regarding the litigation report update.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.